But that reporter is a sheep, and she's a mouthpiece for people who don't like Donald Trump, and she only gave the White House an hour to respond. And that's, again, the same playbook we've seen the fake news media play time and time again. But this story has now been debunked.
900 pounds worth, enough for a number of bombs. The president believes that it was buried in one of those enrichment facilities. The director of the IAEA isn't so sure. Do you have evidence that you know exactly where it is?
I can tell you the United States had no indication that that enriched uranium was moved prior to the strike.
And bottom line, I mean, do we ultimately know where the uranium is and where that pile's been moved? We don't know that, do we?
We don't.
And the president of the United States, because of his decisive leadership in directing that operation on Saturday night, has now achieved a goal that the United States and the whole world has wanted to achieve for years, and that's the obliteration of the capability of the Iranian regime to possess a nuclear weapon.
So there's one other question that remains out there, Caroline, and that's...
White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt just told us that we had no indication that the Iranians were moving nuclear material, significantly enriched radioactive material capable of being used in a nuclear weapon, and therefore it is presumed to have been destroyed in the obliteration that Donald Trump conducted at the Foraux facility, Esfahan, as well as Natanz. But now there's talk about this facility called Pickaxe Mountain. And is it possible that nuclear enriched material, or at least material capable of being used in a bomb, was moved to another location? Well, in this video, we're gonna take a look at that. First, I wanna show you pictures of moving trucks outside of the Foraux enrichment facility in just the 2 days before Foraux was struck. And Carolyn Leavitt tells us that there was no indication of any moving going on. Meanwhile, you have what appear to be dump trucks bringing soil and rocks to seal up the tunnel entrances of the Foraux nuclear facility, and potentially other trucks conveying material out of the facility, or even centrifuges. It's unclear if things were moved out, but the IAEA has told us they have lost track of where the nuclear enriched material that Iran has gone. In fact, this is what's bringing up talk about Pickaxe Mountain, Iran's new hidden nuclear fortress. Take a look at this. An ultra-secure tunnel complex far deeper than Foraux could be the perfect hiding place for missing uranium. When the IAEA asked Iran to explain what was happening at Pickaxe Mountain, the reply from the Iranians was, "It's none of your business." Now, what's interesting about this Foraux facility, or this facility at Pickaxe Mountain, is that it's actually right outside of the Natanz nuclear facility, which is relatively close to Esfahan. But when we look at Natanz, we've widely believed that this is where our centrifugal structures are, based on intelligence, bunker satellite photos of when this area was built out, and later bombings by not only the Israelis, but also the Trump administration just this weekend, where we bombed this massive land right here. But it appears Pickaxe Mountain is actually just about a 2-minute drive from the secure Natanz nuclear facility to right here. Here it is, Pickaxe Mountain. It's literally in the same satellite shot. We could probably walk there, frankly. And what we find here is not only new fencing and perimeter equipment around the facility, but you can see pretty active mining and excavating operations. These here look like excavating operations here. You've got substantial excavation that has already occurred over here. You have what appear to be pretty clear tunnel entrance structures in the side of the mountain here. So this facility is called Pickaxe Mountain, and a lot of folks are paying attention to this. The Telegraph reports that it's possible a lot of the, including, even the Telegraph is reporting that it wasn't just dump trucks that were reported pulling up to Foraux. It was also 16 lorries, so potentially semi-trucks pulling up, moving potentially some of the highly enriched uranium to a secret location before the USA was able to bomb the facilities at Foraux. Tehran had hidden sites housing hundreds of thousands of advanced centrifuges capable of producing weapons-grade uranium needed for a bomb. This Pickaxe Mountain is only minutes away from Natanz, And while it's technically still under construction, the IAEA cannot exclude that this could be an area where nuclear enriched capabilities have been moved to. In fact, if you look, here's a New York Post sort of breakdown of the construction and engineering support staging site, expanding soil pile, explosive storage area, eastern auxiliary tunnels, potential western auxiliary tunnels, western main entrance, soil piles, eastern main tunnel, whatever. These are all just labels here from the Post. On Tuesday, Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, warned that the risk of Iran trying to enrich uranium covertly has actually increased by a factor of 2 now. And this is one of the issues that we have with, in an earlier video today, I talked about Donald Trump not wanting a written deal with Iran. I actually think this is really dangerous because it potentially does what Macron encourages, or not encourages, but cites as a risk, and potentially encourages, not doing a written deal, encourages Iran to secretly manufacture a nuclear bomb with what they already have, their enriched uranium. To make matters worse, a preliminary classified U.S. report revealed that Mr. Trump's bombing of the Iranian nuclear sites only set Iran's program back a few months. Now, this is, of course, the highly disputed, Carolyn Levitt disputes this, the White House press secretary, Trump disputes this. Hegseth says, unless you're going to go over there with a shovel, you can't dispute this, and you're going to unbury that whole mountain. Doesn't so much matter, though, because we believe that the pickaxe site was not struck at all. And if the pickaxe site was not struck at all, then it's possible you could be using this pickaxe site along with others that we're not even aware of to escape future U.S. bombing, as well as, potentially the bunker busting bomb technology we have now. Mostly because the Pickaxe Mountain site is considered substantially deeper than even Foraux. Foraux is considered to be 60 to 90 meters deep. This one is about 100 meters deep, which would be about 330 feet deep. So significantly, more than 50% deeper than Foraux. In addition, there's talk that Iran had amassed 408 kilograms or 900 pounds of uranium enriched up to 60%. And some of us were talking in the chat earlier about how somebody with more knowledge in this than me, apparently, they suggest that it's actually the hardest part of enriching uranium is the early part, because you have to separate the sort of rock and the unrefined material, the ore basically, from the uranium, and then it becomes easier and easier to refine over time. So something that's already enriched 60% could in theory already be enriched up to 90% in terms of a time process, because it's more intensive to enrich up front than it is in the back end. Now, obviously, information here to verify, but the Telegraph here says that the IAEA reports a 48% increase in the agency's last report of enriched uranium at the or in Iran from last February. This means in a span of just 1 year, they have expanded their enriched quantity of uranium by 48%, which is actually quite remarkable. That's a lot. It really shows you the aggressiveness. And here you could see it's just sort of a visual depth of potentially what a B-2 bomber could drop for the Foraux facility or the Pickaxe facility. And the bunker busting depth is considered to have a maximum depth of 200 feet, and the Pickaxe facility being somewhere around 328 feet down, 330, somewhere around there, and potentially even under some of the ridges that you see of the mountainscapes here. Adding tunnels and a security perimeter would further complicate commando raids, especially since the Israelis have commando raided in Hezbollah or other locations as well, although I don't really think a fence is going to stop commandos. We helicopter into places all the time. It is worth seeing the expansion here. Look at 2019. In 2019, you really had nothing. 2019 was about 1 year after Trump ripped up the JCPOA. Quick reminder, JCPOA was signed in 2015 and would have made the Iranians stop enriching uranium at Foraux for 15 years, a 15-year pause in uranium enrichment, and submit to inspections. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the Iranians couldn't lie and, conduct other covert operations. But now we've basically gone from some form of protocol in 2015 for the Iranians to follow to no protocol. So the Iranians essentially started enriching more uranium after the JCPOA was torn up. Donald Trump said it was the worst deal ever signed and we needed a more aggressive deal. But apparently, we never got a more aggressive deal. So as you can see here, the timing is very unfortunate. We left the JCPOA in 2018, so did then Iran began pulling back from it. And so in December of 19, you've got pretty much nothing over here. Oh, 2020, you've got a road. 2022, you've got facilities and excavation. And this excavation and these facilities have continued to expand, likely underground as well, beyond what's pictured here. But these facilities, this Pickaxe Mountain site was not here during the time of the JCPOA, as far as we can tell. There's also talk that Iran has potentially as many as 6,000 centrifuges at various facilities. Some people say thousands, some say tens of thousands. It's very hard to know how many centrifuges they have right now. This is the Natanz facility, which shows you a giant nipple going into the Natanz. There you go, looks sort of like a nipple or a volcano or what you want to call it. But I mean, a lot of good that does it if, just 2 minutes away you have Pickaxe Mountain, with the expectation that Pickaxe Mountain could be, operational soon. And what do you end up with? Well, kind of a pissed off Donald Trump because people are, uncertain about the outcome of his ceasefire. But also, it's worth remembering the Iranians have been trying to sabotage, or the Israelis have been trying to sabotage the Iranian plans to enrich uranium for a very long time. And here's what was widely believed to be a Mossad 2021 cyber attack against the Natanz facility, which was just struck by both Israel and the United States. Here is the Foraux nuclear facility, which, according to the Telegraph, had evidence of, in 2023, highly enriched uranium particles discovered at the site. Which, remember, this very Foraux facility was the same facility that was part of a deal in 2015 to stop the enrichment of uranium for 15 years. Again, that died after Trump, pulled back from the JCPOA. So Vladimir Putin has said he's willing to act as a mediator between Israel and Iran, taking possession of some of the enriched uranium. They don't need that, though. They've got plenty of tunnels. Iran is hiding thousands of centrifuges to build a nuclear bomb, some say. I'm sure they've got hiding places with some hundreds, if not thousands of centrifuges, and they have material in several places all over the country. They cannot do anything now or tomorrow, but in the future, they have all the capabilities to build a bomb. So I guess that really means we need a bigger, massive ordnance penetrator than we've previously had before, which is quite unfortunate. According to satellite imagery, trucks, bulldozers, and security convoys appeared to swarm Foraux 2 days before the U.S. strikes in a frantic effort to move centrifuges, shielding material, and potentially even enriched uranium. Now, Carolyn Levitt says, no, we had no indication of any of this at all. But again, I find issue with this, and it just makes me a little bit concerned when Carolyn Levitt, the press secretary of the White House, was basically the propaganda arm of the White House, is telling us there was no evidence of any moving going on. I mean, look at this satellite image right here. I mean, it's pretty straightforward to me. I mean, here's more evidence of moving. All right. So this does create some problems. And hopefully in the next week or two, Donald Trump does double down on some form of written partnership with Iran, because you need something that you could actually hold them to. As the director of the federal government, this is over at Austria, they argue that a large-scale conflict with Iran must be prevented, and a new nuclear agreement is urgently needed. I totally agree with this. We need a written agreement with Iran, otherwise you end up having problems. Now, we also went through, these are just some examples of kind of what centrifuges look like. And apparently they can weigh up to 300 pounds. I mean, the issue, too, is there's so many of them. So moving them does require quite a bit of trucking and infrastructure. Another thing we were looking at was, we were looking at Guilty Spark, mostly because we were talking about installations and these underground installations, which obviously reminded us of Halo and the installations here. So shout out to Guilty Spark and what it has to say about Iranian installations.
When the flood begins to alter the atmosphere, You are a good planner. The installation was well conceived. It is surely the only way to end the flood threat. The index is...
Yes, the installation will end the threat of the flood of US and Israeli bombs. Okay, weird connection, but it made sense when we were talking about it live. So, anyway, point being here, the White House press secretary is kind of BSing us. We could see it blatantly that there were trucks there. To not even mention it and to just brush it off does make me question what the White House is telling us. And it makes sense from a propaganda point of view that you don't really want to say that, hey, they moved their enriched uranium around, but the reality is they probably did. And if they probably did, it's just bad, because it does mean that Iran probably still possesses material capable of making a bomb at some point in the future, which potentially leads, unless we have a written deal, to a more protracted conflict or more bombings in the future, which just means we go through this cycle over and over again. Hopefully the ceasefire holds for now, but again, sign it, write it, make a deal. And invest into house hack. See, that's why I wore this today, house hack. So I can take this muscle shirt and invest into house hack. Househack.com, open to non-accredited investors. Earn 5% on your money. It's from our rental yield. Plus the upside in the stock upon conversion, so you kind of get the best of both. Learn more at househack.com. Every investment has risk. All right, so that's our update on Carolyn Levitt and Iran.
Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.